All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-through for this Monday edition. Brought to you by the Deli. Special shout-out to Jack's grandpa. Did you hear the interview yesterday before the game? It was so good. Your grandpa was interviewed about being his grandpa was a tight end for the Bengals. Very good one. He's in the Bengals Hall of Fame. He also does announcing and stuff. But he was talking about his story about how he made it on the team. It made me think about you guys. He was like less than 205 pounds, and he wanted to play wide receiver. They wanted him to play tight end, and he did some math at the first like organizational team meeting, and he's like, damn, this is going to be a really hard team to make. I'm not big enough to play tight end, and I don't know if I'm fast enough to play wide receiver. So he figured that his best chance was to have an option to play both. So he weighed in with a 10-pound weight, like tied around his waist. So, and I was just thinking that, like, a lot of times you guys ask why we have to learn this stuff, and I say, hey, we're just trying to give you options here, so that one day if you're not happy, you could go do something else. And it made me think of that story. So there you go. There's your shout out. Okay, so we have a worksheet to do today. I haven't passed it out to you yet because we just want to remember how to do these things. You got a big number divided by a smaller number. Those are the easier way to do it. So remember that the smaller number, I believe, is called the divisor, maybe. But anyway, it goes on this part of the division sign. And then inside this goes the top of the fraction. And I don't know what that's called. Maybe the dividend, but I don't even know. Okay? It is a word. I think the answer might be the dividend, but I don't know. Okay? Good. I know. I bet. Okay, so here's how this works. You ask yourself, how many times does 13 go into 1? Well, you can't do that. How many times does 13 go in 11? You cannot do that. So then you go to the next one. How many times does 13 go into 115? Well, the irony behind this is we might even be using our calculator to do this long division, which is so sad. But it's not about the answer, it's about the process. Okay? So the answer is 8. Thank you, Jacob. I think that was you that said that. So you write down an 8 above the 5, okay? Now, do you remember what you do next? You do 8 times 13 and write that answer down here. So 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 2, because it was 24, okay? And now you subtract those things. So 115 minus 104 is 9. Anyone remember what to do next? You got it. You bring down this 9. Okay? You bring down the 9. Now we say, how many times does 13 go into 99? That's going to be 7. 7 times 3 is, that's nice and convenient, 21. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. I subtract the 2. I get an 8. Oh no! Mark is so right. I'm a total moron. Alright, okay, I lied. Back to this. Thanks, Mark. That's 11. Bring down my 9. How many times does 13 go into 119? That's going to be a different answer. 9 times. Yes, it will be 9, because 104 plus 13 is less than 119, so we're good. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 1 is 11, plus, thank you. Okay, are we okay, other than my subtraction error? 13 goes into 26 how many times? And that's it, because it was a nice, even answer. So the answer is 892. You could obviously check that in your calculator because you could have done that in your calculator. That's not the point. You'll understand this in about 3 more minutes. So let's just do another one. How many times does 22 go into, whoa, go into 10,032? Okay, 22 goes into 100 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 22 is 88. I'll show you how to, since I already screwed this up once, I'll go back and do it the way I'm supposed to. Make this a 10. Make that a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Borrow. I think you make that a 9. You get 12. I don't even remember how to do that, but it's definitely 12. Bring down the 3. How many times does 22 go into 123? That should be 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Write down a 1 here. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. You get 13. Bring down the 2. 6. Let's see if this works out right. 6 times 1 is 12. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is 13. Got it. That gives you a 0 remainder, and the answer is 456. Okay? All right. Okay, so now we try to use that knowledge, and we do this with polynomials. Hey, first of all, I want you to understand what the heck you're doing. This is an alternative to factoring. Okay? If you think about it, you're saying that you have something, and you're dividing it by something. Okay? Just bear with me on this. And you're trying to see what the answer is. Well, those are going to be factors, because if you think about it, what we just did here was we found out that 13 times what equals 11,596. Yes. So 13 and 892 are the factors of 11596. That's why we're doing this right now. It's not just some random lesson that we're throwing into the middle of Algebra 2 course. This is an alternative to factoring, and then tomorrow I will show you what's called synthetic division, which is supposedly a shortcut for this, okay? But I can tell you, I remember when I was your age, I never learned synthetic division. I only did it this way. I remember that, because when I have kids come and ask me for help with synthetic division, I'm always like, yep, never learned that, not going to be able to help you. But by tomorrow I'll know how to do it, okay? Here we go. So here's how you do it, just like you would think. X minus 1, I use parentheses because it confuses me less, goes into, and I don't use parentheses here because I think they're assumed. How many times does x minus 1 go into 3x squared minus 8x plus 7? That's kind of what we're figuring out, okay? Now, for this method, all you care about is how many times does this lead term go into this lead term. So how many times does x go into 3x? Or another way of asking yourself, x times what is 3x squared? Sorry, I said 3x. I meant 3x squared. X times what is 3x squared? X times 2 is 2x. So good guess, but it's wrong. X times 3x is 3x squared. I'll show you that we can check ourselves, because that's this process. You do 3x times x, and what do you get? 3x squared. And you do 3x times negative 1, and what do you get for that? You get a negative 3x, and then you write your subtraction sign, just like you did in our warm-up. Okay, now, what did we do in our last stage once we get to this step? Do you remember? We subtracted. Do you remember that? So what's 3x squared minus 3x squared? 0. Good. That's what we want. Now here's the part where I'm pretty sure we're going to make mistakes. You have to do a negative 8x minus a negative 3x. So that is essentially a negative 8x plus 3x. So what am I going to write down here? Negative 5x. Okay? Kyle, I know you got a question. I'm going to pause the video just after we're done with this. Did you have your hand up? All right, my fault. All right, what did we do in the long division when we got to this step? It's the same thing we do. We just bring it down. Okay? And now, same process here. X times what equals negative, oh, hold on. Yep. X times what equals negative 5x? Negative 5. I guess I'll keep the answer in blue and write my work in a different color. Okay, so now, same process. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5. What do I have left? A 2. Now, as it turns out, I picked dumb example warm-ups. Okay? I was thinking that on the first day, all of these would be whole number answers. Did I screw something up? Yes. You're doing this. Okay? Does that make sense? So you do negative 5x minus a negative 5x, which ends up being 0. It's negative 5x plus 5x, and you do 7 minus. So yeah, that's going to be something I need to make sure I keep writing down. Okay? So look, I screwed up the warm-ups. Not that I screwed them up and got the answer wrong. Both of these answers were whole numbers. I don't know if you remember this or not, but if down here, if you would have gotten like some random number, like let's say this was instead of a 0, that was like a 5 left over, and 22 clearly didn't go into 5. I don't know if you remember, but your answer would be like 4:56 and 5:20 seconds. It's your remainder. It's what's left over, okay? We didn't do that because I picked nice easy ones because I was thinking that maybe that's how we would do today. But I'm actually glad we didn't, because if they were nice and easy whole numbers, then we wouldn't want to use this method. We would have been better off factoring or using our graphing calculators. So here's what you do in the process. It's okay. We're going to write this, so it's plus 2 over x minus 1. That is the remainder. Okay? Okay, so this will be the last one for the video. The answers are online, and the work is all there, okay? So you only have 4 more problems to do today after this one. Okay, so this one says x minus, does that say plus 6? How many times does x plus 6 go into x cubed plus 5x squared minus 3x minus 4, okay? All right, so how many times does x go into x cubed? It goes x squared times. Okay? If it was x to the 4th. This is the nice thing about this, is it's actually a good chance for you to practice these things, because now you're going to figure out if you did it right or not. What is x squared times x? It's x cubed. What is x squared times 6? 6x squared. Remember, you subtract this entire thing. Okay? These should always cancel. If they don't cancel, you have done something wrong. And 5x squared minus 6x squared is a negative 1x squared. What's my next step? Bring down, and don't forget that's a negative 3x, okay? All right, same process. I'll change to blue here. How many times does x go into negative 1x squared? Well, it's going to be a negative 1x. Here's a chance to check yourself. Negative 1x times positive 1x is a negative 1x squared. Perfect. This is the confusing part. I'm going to end up subtracting this whole thing. Negative 1x times positive 6 is negative 6. All right. Thank God this isn't Positive Wednesday, because there's nothing positive about what's going on here. Negative 1x squared minus a negative 1x squared is 0. Those cancel. And negative 3x minus a negative 6x is really a negative 3x plus 6x. So what is that? Very good. Okay, plenty of places for us to make mistakes here. All right, we'll switch over to red. X times what is 3x? 3. Bring down the negative 4. Thank you. You get 3x plus 18. I'm going to subtract this whole thing. I would have put 14 here, and it would be wrong. I'm glad I wrote the parentheses, because really 3x minus 3x gone. Negative 4 minus 18. I almost just wrote it down. This is crazy. Is negative 22. Okay? And so I write minus 22 over parentheses x plus 6. That is called my remainder. And you guys did a good job following along with that. And this is over. Boom!